Now this is just knowing how your body works. And this is something that doctors, they're taught parts. They're not taught critical thinking. They're not taught how the system works, or that the system's response is intelligent. Good God, you got a fever, take a Tylenol. Okay, you can't sleep, take Lunesta. You know, it's foolishness. So we're going to learn a little bit how the body works. First, you're an electrical chemical machine. You experience your environment through the nervous system. Okay, this is why the nervous system is primary in everything. Okay. There's one system that controls and coordinates every function of the body. Guess what it is? Nervous system. I know. So that would be kind of important. Well, luckily, okay, now the brain and spinal cord, this is, and we're going to go over this really, really simple, but understand that it controls hormone production, it controls digestion, it controls everything. So making sure that this works, it's vital. Now, there's two aspects of this. One controls the body, the other receives information. So does that mean that this is going to get information up to the brain to tell you whether your blood pressure should go up or whether digestion should go up? Yes or yes? Yes. I know, it does. So it's so important the damn thing's protected. Okay, it's protected. You got a bony case up top. You've got this beautiful, flexible, straight from the front, curved from the side. I mean, it's dynamic. And when you look at even the structures, now this doesn't show a whole bunch, but this is actually the spinal cord itself on a cross section, but it has so much information. And when we're doing exams on people, different sensations are carried along different tracks. So now when you look at this one here, up here, there's going to be the anterior spinal thalamic tract. That's for very light touch. Pain and temperature are on here. Balance is going to be back here. So we can go through and check different aspects of interruptions in appropriate sensation. And we could tell where the lesion on that cord is. But also, these vertebrae, they're separated by discs. Now, discs are a ligament, and there are 80 interconnecting rings of ligament. And discs, I know this is going to shock you, are alive. That means that a disc has to take in nutrients, produce proteins, and eliminate waste products. Oh wait, bones are alive. Wait a second, so bones are alive. That means that they can distort and they can grow, they can change shape. In fact, if this thing has a trauma or damage and the disc can't get its nutrients, the disc gets smaller. So the bone actually changes its shape, okay? And that distortion is erroneously called degenerative disc disease. It's foolish because it's not. It's adaptive changes to increase and stabilize that joint. So when the doctor says, oh yeah, you have a bone spur, no, I'm sorry, that's not true. You have decreased joint space here, which caused an instability, which was going to negatively affect the nerve. So the body laid down or increased the surface area in order to stabilize it. Now there's a law called Wolff's Law. Bones laid down where it's needed, resorb where it's not. You regenerate this disc by restoring normal, healthy motion, then the bone spurs go away. Wait, did I just say arthritis is reversible? And arthritis is adaptive? And arthritis is an intelligent function of the body? Yes! It's true! Okay, and that's what's weird, because if you look at if the materials that's made of, it's going to give you signals for years that there's a problem. But if you take a chemical or ignore it, okay, and you don't respect your body, like what would the dumbest thing in the world to do? Like let's say you've got some joint dysfunction. What's that? Take a chemical that inhibits proteoglycan production, like Advil, Motrin, Aleve, Tylenol? Okay, you would do that? No. See, that would inhibit the body's ability to repair, and it would cause it to further degenerate. Now there's a lot of stuff in anatomy, physiology, in the medical world that's stupid, but we keep on holding it. Okay, arth means joint, itis means inflammation. So arthritis means joint inflammation. Okay. Now osteoarthritis is a non-inflammatory arthritis. Okay, but they hold it. to the same, do you understand? So they made a mistake a long time ago calling it joint inflammation, then they found out it's not inflammatory, but they keep calling it joint inflammation. So there's a lot of things that's perpetually stupid. Now, when we look at this, that's why the revolution is going to change. Beautiful, and there's a cross-section. The vertebral bodies, the ligaments, the spinal cord. I mean, it's such a dynamic relationship. Now you have two parts of the autonomic nervous system. This is what they really need to teach in school. You've got one part that keeps you alive under stress, called the sympathetic. The other part, it rest, digest, and repair. Immune system, everything. And these systems have to be in balance. So if you have a chronic fight or flight, do you need faster heart rate, faster blood pressure, or higher blood pressure, better blood sugar in order to stay alive? Yes, you do. If you're chronically in this state, or let's say you're in this state when you go to get your physical, okay, are they going to misdiagnose you with high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol? Yeah. So it's a foolish system. That's that allopathetic model. Now, when we look at this, you've got peripheral nerves, central nerves, nerves everywhere. Now, if somebody says, oh yeah, I got this neuropathy, that means nerve problem in Latin. So if you had a car that had a tire that wasn't working right, shouldn't you just fix the tire? Yeah. You get a problem with neuropathy, you don't take a drug to cover it up, you just actually fix it. Okay, now these right here, this is adaptive physiology. This is what a normal, beautiful joint should look like. And arthritis is reversible. Now, respiratory. So the nervous system controls and coordinates everything. Breathing. Now you actually have nerves that control the diaphragm. So when you breathe in, this diaphragm comes down. The problem is people are never taught how to breathe. If you look at a grandkid, in fact right now, look at somebody next to you, sit up nice and straight. We're going to do one exercise, okay? Okay, now think about this. The diaphragm is going to come down, and that means the stomach contents are supposed to come out when you inhale. So look at the person next to you. Okay, now take a deep breath in. Blow it all the way out. Deep breath in. Blow it all the way out. If you're going like this and your stomach is going in, you're not breathing correctly. So how most Americans breathe, they breathe like this. Because why? Everybody wants a flat belly and a big chest. I know. Because it takes years to build something like this. Most people don't want to spend the work. Okay, but the way a normal human being is supposed to be is the chest isn't supposed to move on inhalation. So it's like a bellows. But once you learn healthy oxygen transfer, your blood pressure goes down. The lungs are full of these little grape-filled sacs. And this is why blood has to be healthy, because they've got to get down to, I mean, literally one cell thick to where they can transfer that oxygen, get rid of the carbon dioxide, take in oxygen. This is how you live. And, oh, I love this. The autonomic nervous system, these two things, they're pretty much the origin of disease or health. And what we always say is C3, C4, C5 keeps you alive. Why? Because that's the nerve to the diaphragm. So does that mean that in order to have healthy function, you need C3, C4, C5 functioning correctly? Does that mean if you have a problem with the neck in here, and this is C3, C4, C5, if those nerves are compromised, does that mean that you can have altered lung function? Yeah, absolutely. And that's the frustrating part, because if you have altered function, if you have altered diaphragm, if your lungs can't do the oxygen transfer, if your blood's not healthy, what do you think has to happen to blood pressure? It has to go up. It has to. When we look at the liver, if people knew that everything you eat, and this is how the body works, everything you put in your mouth, it has to go through the intestines. I mean, not through like a tube, it has to go through the wall of the intestine, and it goes right into this giant enzyme factory, the liver. This means the broccoli, the fish, the rice you eat goes into here and it gets further broken down into the protein, fats, and carbohydrates that you need to live. Also, the Tylenol gets through here. The beta blocker gets through here. Okay, all of those drugs have negative effects on how the body can function. Now, the gallbladder, now this is not a vestigial organ that you don't need. Okay, this is actually really, really important for how the system works. The gallbladder stores and concentrates bile. Bile emulsifies fats. Without fats, you can't have hormones. So guess what happens if you've had your gallbladder removed? Hormone problems, increased disease rates, way more problems in the intestinal tract because you've got nothing to store and concentrate it. You just have bile constantly dripping into the duodenum or into the intestinal tract. Now, when we look at this, the portocaval system, if any of these veins that drain off of the intestinal tract that go up to the liver get blocked, the body knows that if a tissue can't get blood supply or drain, then it's going to have a secondary system. It's going to dump the nutrient-rich blood or the undigested blood through a different system. So if you look at the intelligence of this, it's actually beyond what you could imagine. Because right now, this stomach, I think we're going to go over digestion too. Oh yeah, this is cool. Okay, when you look at this system, you've got this beautiful peristaltic wave that pushes food through everything. You've got little aspects of the gallbladder, pancreas, everything drain into this area here. And as this food gets further and further and further down the intestinal tract and then gets to the large intestine, it breaks it down to complete perfect absorption where you can utilize all the nutrients. Now, when you're looking at this, you swallow food. Once food hits the stomach, there's a muscle up here that tightens up, that locks in the acid of the stomach. So that way you can have complete digestion. Then it moves down through here. Fats get absorbed through here. Minerals get absorbed through there. The B vitamins get down along the distal ileum. So each aspect along this intestinal tract is utilized for absorbing different nutrients. Now, there's a thing called gastric bypass surgery. Have you heard of that? Okay. They just go around this. And don't worry. You could take vitamins. You're going to lose weight because you're starving to death. And there is, I mean, to do operations like that shows such little respect for the complexity and the beauty that is your digestive tract. It's like beyond ignorant. And what controls that? The nervous system. The inside of the stomach is completely unique. And has anyone ever heard of Pavlov's dogs? Okay. Well, he was a lot sicker than you could possibly imagine, but we learned a lot from his experiments. He wondered why a stomach doesn't digest itself. Okay, because you could put, a nail exposed to stomach acid will start to break down. Bone will break down by stomach acids. So what he would do is he cut holes in dog's stomach, had them smell a certain food, and they would produce an acid. Had them smell a different food, a different acid would come out. So the digestion begins actually by the nervous system. Now, inside this stomach here, he would actually put the dog's own paw inside of the stomach, and sure enough, because he thought maybe you can't digest yourself, but the paw actually was digested. So the only thing that protects this stomach area here are mucus glands. So the body is constantly building up the stomach and destroying the stomach, but there's not an appreciation for that. That's why, if there's a stomach ulcer, it has to do with the health of the stomach lining, not to attack the ulcer. And typically it's going to be from the goblet cells, which actually produce this mucus layer that protects that wall. Now, both the pancreas and the gallbladder drain through the same hole into the duodenum. This is why this is not, the health of the gallbladder is imperatively healthy or important when you're talking about hormone production or everything else. However, if you have had your gallbladder taken out, you can adapt to it. okay, but just try not to. You know, if someone says, look, you need to have your gallbladder taken out, understand there's ways that you can clean the gallbladder, clean the liver. Now, the reproductive system. This, when we look at this, again, we've got the ovaries, uterus, fimbriae. Have you ever heard of endometriosis? Okay, what's the official cause? Idiopathic. Yes, root word idiot, haven't a friggin' clue. Okay, so when you look at this, every 28 days, the lining of this uterus builds up, and then the uterus contracts and expels the menses out. Now, around here, these fallopian tubes have little hair cells that are constantly creating a positive pressure. So when you squeeze this, it's not going to come out the fallopian tube. So there's always a positive pressure. Now, what do you think controls the nerves in the fallopian tube, or controls the hair cells? The nervous system. So if you have compromised nerve supply to these fallopian tubes, the hair cells aren't going to work, then this squeezes, and then this metrium or endometrium comes out and forms a mass. So it actually has to do with compromised nerve supply of the pelvic and of this area that causes it. When you look at this system, the prostate is right here. The prostate is right next to the rectum. And in fact, when you're doing to check the prostate, you actually insert a finger here and you can palpate it. I mean, a digital rectal exam, we had to do a bunch of them to become doctors. It's not fun. Okay, it's not fun to get it. It's not fun to do it. But if you look at the brilliance of this, every time a well-formed stool comes down, it actually is going to massage that area. So if you have poor stool formation, you're going to have poor function of that area. And why do we have such major prostate issues? Aside from not toxic food that we're exposed to, endocrine disruptors that we're exposed to, all the little hormonal-based tumors that we're exposed to, it's also the position of it as well. It's in the pelvic floor. And if somebody has a sedentary lifestyle, that's also going to cause it to not function correctly. Now, again, and this stuff works off of the nerves that come out of the sacrum. And the old analogy, S2, 3, 4 keeps the ding-dong off the floor. Okay, this is like the most safe vegetable example, okay, that my son could find on the internet. Okay, but this also means that if you have erectile dysfunction or some type of altered function in that area, you don't go in and get Viagra. You go in and support the pelvis. You find out the problem. Now, you've got, again, the nervous system does two aspects of this, because when you're talking about healthy function, you've got the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, okay? And the way I used to teach the students is you had the point and the shoot, okay? So if you have a patient or you know somebody that has a problem with arousal, they're probably in a stress state or sympathetic dominant state. If they get aroused but they can't climax, then they're in a parasympathetic dominant state, or there's some problem with the autonomic nervous system, more than likely. And this is why stimulation and arousal is under rest, digest, and repair. So how do you get your girl? Candlelights, right? Because it's going to be more parasympathetic. They're not going to be aroused at a football game with lights and things, okay? Because that'll be, well, some girls will. So when you look at this, if you understand the nervous system, you understand how the body works. And all of these systems, everything in here, they're not separate. They're all linked into each one. You've got the nervous system, cardiovascular, reproductive. And what do they all have in common? I mean, it's every aspect of stress is going to negatively affect, or it's not negatively, it's going to cause that system to go into a certain state. And this is where most diseases come from. We've got the cardiovascular, skeletal, digestive, nervous system, pulmonary system. And under any type of stress, stress is good for you. It absolutely is. Without stress, we die. This is what kept our species alive. Okay, the problem is now in the world, the medical world, we're looking at stress has really the normal intelligent stress responses that we have are misdiagnosed into diseases. Ah! Did I just initiate a stress response? Okay. Yeah, that's... Am I the only one that has a dread fear of evil clowns? No, you too? Thank God. Okay, yeah, this is ridiculous. Well, what happens, you've got certain stages of stress, and your body is going to recognize it and respond correctly. See, the doctor of the future is not going to go in and say, hey, gee, you know, you got high cholesterol. They're going to say, you know, your body has some type of inflammatory response or hormone need. Okay, they're not going to say you got high blood pressure. They're going to say, look, either your blood's not healthy or you're in a sympathetic dominant state. They're going to look at your body's responses as intelligent because you have a normal stress response. This fight or flight kicks in. Adrenaline kicks in. And there's no off switch for adrenaline. It has its function, and it's supposed to be functioning correctly. We've got the hypothalamus pituitary axis, and this is how your brain perceives the environment. So when someone says, oh yeah, it's adrenal fatigue, my adrenals are just bad, I've got a low functioning thyroid, I've got this disease. No, you don't. You've got a normal functioning body given the environmental stimulus. So instead of blaming the pituitary or blaming the adrenals or blaming the thyroid or blaming the organ, start blaming the lifestyle choices, because that's all it is. And respecting your body, how it responds to this environment. I mean, when you look at the beauty of cortisol, everyone's talking about how dangerous cortisol is. My God, it mobilizes and increases amino acids. It stimulates the liver to convert amino acids to glucose. So this is vital, keeps you alive. Phenomenal anti-inflammatory. Okay, it counteracts inflammation and allergies. Oh, what if we had an experiment where we took, you know, children, gave them 69 doses of 16 different vaccines by the time they're 18. Do you think they may require more levels of cortisol? Yeah? Okay, I had a 17-year-old kid come in the other day with familial hypercholesterolemia. And I said, really? Does your brothers and sisters have it? No, they don't. It's genetic, though. I happen to be the only one. I mean, it's like, you can't make this stuff up. Genetic and genetic expression. Yeah, you're going to express it if you're exposed to incredible amounts. But now, if cortisol is chronically elevated, it can be a negative. And it just means that when your body is in a fight or flight state, your body is designed to survive. But if you're in that survival mode too long, Gesundheit, you're not going to be able to generate a healthy body. And the adaptation to the chronic stress, it really does affect digestive, reproductive, endocrine. It affects all the systems. So if you look at the physical, chemical, or emotional stress that you're exposed to, you fix it. Adrenals. Adrenal fatigue doesn't exist. Chronic stress causing adrenal fatigue does. Now, stress in the thyroid. If people respect the body, in fact, the new world, in the revolution, they will respect the body. Nobody has a low thyroid. Inflammation will cause the thyroid to appear low. Stress will activate the adrenals, and it'll make the thyroid appear low. How many women are misdiagnosed with a low-functioning thyroid? Everybody. Why? Because they're in an inflammatory diet. Inflammation is going to cause cortisol to be needed. If cortisol is up, thyroid functions down. So getting more aware that the body doesn't do stupid things, you're going to be healthier. I mean, stress, 1 in 3 deaths is contributed to heart disease. That's a true statistic, but it's not true. Heart disease doesn't exist, but the body unable to adapt to the environment, unable to regenerate healthy tissue does exist. And so if you look at physical, chemical, and emotional stress, it affects the digestive system. Every one of these are the causes of disease. They really are. And this is why the body, we don't have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high disease rates in this country. We have inappropriate responses to stress. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and so to deal with this, if you have a society that has high physical, chemical, or emotional stress, they're going to be misdiagnosed with adrenal fatigue, thyroid problems, pancreatic overload, hormonal imbalance, nutrition deficient diet, sedentary lifestyle, toxic, and then you treat it with antibiotics and medicine. If you respect the body, respect its processes, and don't try and alter the physiology with a chemical, your body's going to remain healthy for forever.